Welcome, everybody, to Misremembering, a Mandela Effect podcast. My name is Billy.
And I'm Scott.
And I'd be lying to you if I said this was the first recording. We were just recording moments ago for a while and realized it actually wasn't recording. So, take two. But you guys don't know that. You won't know what we talked about. Well, they do now, but first things first, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. We appreciate it. On YouTube, we're getting lots of traction. I post the podcast to my channel. Scott posts it to his channel. We're getting some good traction on YouTube, getting some good traction on the podcasting apps, Apple Podcasts, Google, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all those places. So we appreciate it and got some great feedback from a few folks about volume levels and intro being too long. So appreciate all of the information. We hope that you guys continue to listen and enjoy, and we will continue to bring our best content we could possibly bring. So, Scott, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm great. I'm doing very well. And I agree with your sentiment. Thank you to the listeners and watchers. We appreciate all of you.
Yes. And tonight, actually, as we start talking about a few things, I'm going to show, so those of you who are on the podcasting app, if you're interested, you can go back and watch it on one of our YouTube channels. But I'm going to try to show the articles and things of research that I've done. We unfortunately can't do that as well yet with Scott's. Maybe we can coordinate beforehand next time, Scott, and you can give me the URLs for what you found and we can follow along together. But I'm going to try to do that so that you can see what we're talking about a little bit better and see. I know last week we referenced some pretty wild blogs and things that I'm sure people weren't digging up themselves. So if we can provide that for them, great.
Yeah, that's a good change. I like that. We should do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So next week we'll coordinate a little bit beforehand, but tonight we'll have at least my things. So you'll see them in a little bit as we continue talking. But we gave you a little teaser last week, talking about what we thought we'd talk about tonight. And so if you listened, you already know. But if you didn't listen, it's your first time. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Berenstein Bears, not the Berenstain Bears, as it is incorrectly labeled currently.
This is the mother of all Mandela effects. Because I think this is the one where, you'll convince everybody that something weird's going on with this one. Above all the other ones, this is the one that I think that blows people's minds the most, maybe.
I would agree. I have never, whenever I talk about the Mandela effect, this is my go-to because it's the most shocking. I mean, I've not one time said, "Hey, you remember the books, the Berenstain Bears?" and had anyone respond, "It's Berenstain, thank you." No one. I always say that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Berenstein Bears, love them. Why?" I say, "Well, you actually, it's not Berenstein apparently, it's Berenstain." And they say, "No, I don't believe it." And then all you have to do is just search it. Thousands and thousands of pictures of people saying, "Look, it's Berenstain with an A, not an E." And I just won't ever call it that because that's not right. It simply is not right.
No, it's not right. And, I've seen all the pictures online. I know they exist. I know if you Google this, you get tons of examples where people will show off their books and everything, and they'll say, "Look, this is look, it says right here on the cover, Berenstain." But I don't, look, I've been fooled enough by the internet. So if you think that I'm foolish enough to believe a picture that you show me, well, haha, the joke's on you, because I'm not going to believe it. I don't care how many physical books you have that you take pictures of that say Berenstain. First of all, I don't know when those books are printed, which is my first question. Second of all, I don't know if they've been edited. And third of all, until I see a physical copy in my hands of this, and even then I still won't believe it. But that would at least make me I would second guess my beliefs on this if somebody could hand me an 1987 version of a Berenstain Bears book, hand it to me, and I can tell that it hasn't been edited or modified in any way. And maybe then they go, look, Berenstain, right here it is. And then I'd still probably believe it was Berenstein, but I would start to believe more of the like parallel universe scenario.
Yeah, and this is the one where in my research, this is where the parallel universe definitely comes to a head when you talk about the Mandela effect. Sometime between 80s, whenever the books came out, and now, we all slipped into a parallel universe where their spelling is one letter different. And there's a lot of theories. I mean, the author being Jan and Stan Berenstain, spelled with an A. So the books are based after them. But again, how has it been my entire life in reading the books, in talking to people about them? No one's pronounced it Berenstain ever. It's always been Berenstein. And parallel universe? I mean, I don't know. I'd have to do more research on it, but like all the movies and comic books about like the multiverse, you know, I don't know if there were a bunch of movies coming out prior to the Berenstain Bear books about the multiverse, but maybe that is not an original idea. Maybe it's because things like this, people are like, oh, well, there has to be a parallel universe somewhere then, because this, you know, deja vu. When people have deja vu, they think, oh, this is weird. I've seen this before. But this is the opposite of that, kind of. Where it's, I've seen this before, but that's wrong. This is right. I know what I'm talking about. So it was fun researching, truthfully, getting to see all the unique opinions about this.
Unique opinions and biased articles. One of the biggest articles I read in my research was an article from Vice. I don't know if you read the same article. Now, normally, traditionally, I would never go to Vice for anything outside of maybe wrestling stuff, because you know they can't one side that. But I found a Vice article that's actually really lengthy about this, and kind of goes into like the history of when this first appeared and when people were starting to think. It really dives into the parallel universe thing, is what it dives into, and some of the arguments that people made, you know, in theorizing that the parallel universe exists, and that this Berenstein Bears is the greatest example that we have of the parallel universe.
I did not find that article, but I'm going to try to find it.
If you Google Berenstein Bears conspiracy theory, you should find it. It was the first thing that came up for me.
The Berenstein Bears conspiracy theory that has convinced the internet there are parallel universes. All right, I see it.
Yep.
Okay, this is from 2015. But see, even I feel like the subtitle, you know, is you remember the Berenstain Bears, right? Now what if we told you they never existed? But then they refer to it as the Berenstain Bears article. I feel like that's a miss. I feel like that's a swing and a miss on their part.
Oh, they're ones. Don't kid yourself. Okay, Vice appears to be taking the stance that this is all BS, and that it's Berenstain, and it always has been, and everyone who thinks it's not is a silly goofball. That is the gist I get from this article.
Yeah. I apologize for all the ads you're seeing on here. Let's get rid of those. Ad blocker. Thank you. Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to read this a little bit more. I don't want to just waste everyone's time as they're watching this potentially on YouTube. But yeah, there are a lot of people, you know, I feel like they're trolls. They're just like, oh, I always knew it was Berenstain. I've never pronounced it that way. How is that possible when I've talked about this to probably 50 to 75 people, unique people about it, and I'm batting 100 on believing in Berenstein. and not Stain.
Right. Right. No one you ever meet says Berenstain. It doesn't even sound right coming out of your mouth.
No.
Like when you say it, it doesn't feel right. Berenstain. No.
Yeah.
That's not how it is. That's not the Bears. These are not the Bears.
This is not the Bears. I would agree with that. And we talked about, well, before the incident where we weren't recording but thought we were. We were talking about how you'd asked me, do I have any physical copies for myself as proof? I mean, you just kind of talked about it. Someone needs to hand you a copy from 87 or something that says Stain. I don't. My parents have moved, got rid of a lot of stuff. If they did have one, it's likely gone and somewhere. Some kid is going to pick it up and it's going to be proof that Steen does exist. But in my research, I did find there's proof that people believe they have found that it is Berenstein. And it is a VHS tape. So for those younger listeners, potentially, VHS tape was before DVDs. And on the front, there's the label, which kind of tells you what it is. And Scott, I wonder if I can share this portion of my screen with you so you can see it.
I'd love to see it.
So I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, I can.
Or not. Okay, so shows first time video, Berenstain, clearly with the A. Yep. Berenstain Bears learn about strangers, plus the disappearing honey, and see Stan and Jan Berenstain. Now this is the label. And again, the internet could fool us, but this is someone on Reddit who's apparently just taking pictures.
Okay.
And
the label looks old.
The label looks old. Yep. And it says this is from 86, it looks like. Now you scroll down. So before I go any further, on the VHS, there's the label on the front. And then on the spine, so when you put the VHS tape into its box and you set it on your shelf, you could see, kind of like a bookshelf, like your DVDs in the back, right? It shows the Matrix. But it was the actual spine of the VHS tape. It was not part of the box. So this is another piece of the VHS tape, okay?
Okay.
What is that? Berenstain Bears?
Oh, wait a second.
And see, you can kind of see it's the same color.
Yeah.
Same color orange. It looks pretty faded, but again, someone could have color matched that, printed it, rubbed it. But I mean, it's, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think it's very odd that we're getting this tape, and this tape has both. So this tape contains both the current version, Berenstain, and the original version, Berenstein. And I find that very interesting.
I mean, maybe this is the glitch in the Matrix. The parallel universe. Someone was holding this in their hand when they switched, and it only captured the one piece.
So this tape has been in both universes.
I mean, that's a theory. I do find it odd that it's only on one. It almost seems like that would be a misprint. Now, again, it being named after Stan and Jan Berenstein, Stain, whatever. I do feel like it is interesting that it would be, if that's the real name, why they would ever call it the Berenstain Bears with an E. Right? I mean, if you're going to name it after yourself, name it after yourself, not kind of yourself.
Right. But if they really are Berenstain, which they claim, and I found an interview with them, where they claim that actually this is Mike Berenstein. So
that's the son, right? He took over, right?
Yes.
Okay, yep.
I believe that's true. Yes. and he is saying that it's Berenstain.
With an A.
He is saying it was always Berenstain. It was never Berenstein, and that this is a crazy internet, you know. He seems to like the parallel. Well, hold on, wait. Is this part of the quote? No, this is just somebody else. I was about to say he seems to be interested in the parallel universe theory, which is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I am glad you said that because I found an article talking about them, and I think this is hilarious because it's kind of given the reason, like the author of this, which was written in January of this year, so not too long ago, but the author of this article is kind of saying this is maybe why people do this, but it goes back to Stan being plagued as a child in elementary school. They're calling roll, saying, Scott Carson, you say present, here, whatever, Billy Height, here, present.
Yes.
It gets to Stan, and teachers pronounce it Berenstein with an E. And one of his teachers apparently even said, your last name is spelled wrong, just like your last name is wrong. So we're going to assume that's how it's pronounced. And it's Berenstein. And because Steen was apparently more common. That is such a wild story.
That's almost more wild than parallel universes.
I mean, I don't know. Carson, pretty normal.
Yeah.
Last name in general. It's like one of your teachers saying, Carson? No. Carson? You know.
Yeah, you're not going to mess that up.
It is obviously pronounced Carson. You don't know like how to pronounce your own name. It's Carson. That's less believable to me than a lot of the other theories that I've read. So I don't know. That's not a good enough reason for me. And maybe you talked about it before, like it doesn't even sound right coming off the tongue, like Berenstain. Doesn't sound right. Berenstein sounds normal. It sounds right. It sounds like that's how it should be pronounced. But then we're going to go as far as to say that Stan's teacher, which they started writing the books in the 60s, I think it said 62. So, figure he's at earliest, we're talking the 50s, 40s, that his teachers are like, hey, you don't know what you're talking about, kid. And maybe it was a different time. Maybe that's right. Maybe.
But why does that explain? How does that explain why we all remember it the other way? Like,
we're all like the teacher saying it doesn't sound right and it doesn't roll off the tongue, and Steen just sounds better. It's more common, so we're gonna go Steen.
Better. It's more common. Okay, sure. But everyone you've ever met, again, we get into this, like, how many people can remember the same thing incorrectly? And that to me is, again, a further stretch than we live. There's parallel universes.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, okay, personally, I believe that the parallel universe theory is possible. Perhaps likely that there are multiple universes. I don't, could one thing cross from one universe to another? Well, I don't know. Someone should just ask Elon Musk. Because if anyone would know, if anybody has secretly spent money to find this out, it's likely Elon Musk.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, Elon would be the person to ask. He's probably got theories on it, done more research than anybody else on it, I bet. Well, I don't know if anyone else. There are people who dedicate their lives to the idea of a parallel universe, and he's busy doing other things, so I don't know
And
about
most
that.
of them believe it. Most of those people who spend their lives trying to figure this stuff out believe that there are parallel universes.
Yeah. So here's another thing. I can't play the audio because if I play the audio, the video will get pulled down on YouTube.
Oh, instantly.
But there's a Simpsons episode. So now everyone believes the Simpsons just predict things, right? Like the number of things that Simpsons have predicted over their lifetime of being a show is astounding. Every time it happens, every time something comes to fruition, it's a new article on Yahoo or CNN or wherever saying Simpsons does it again. There is an episode of The Simpsons. I don't have the episode number or the season number or anything like that. I'm sure I could find it. But someone recorded it, and it says, I'll show you here. Homer runs into a bookshelf, and a bunch of books fall down. And he picks up one book, and he reads the title. He picks up another book, and this is what he sees. And it clearly says Berenstain with an A. However, when he picks up the books, he reads each of the titles as he picks it up and sets it down. When he reads this, he says Berenstain Bears. Clearly, clear as day. So this is another double, because we see it written as an A, but pronounced differently. So when this episode was being edited, cut, floated through the parallel universe, someone had this up on their computer. It didn't finish it all, and they didn't catch Homer mispronouncing it. Now, someone in the comments, I'm sure, probably a troll, and I don't have Disney Plus to tell you, but a troll said, I found this episode on Disney Plus because that's what I have, and it's spelled with an E.
What?
This YouTube video that you're seeing on the screen, if you're watching on our channel here on YouTube, it says with an A. But apparently on Disney Plus, the episode is with an E. Now, again, can't verify that. Maybe I should have asked you before the podcast if you had Disney Plus, could you go check this out? But I don't have it. I have to find somebody who does have it so they can look this up and figure it out.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. So if you believe the whole Simpsons theory that they predict and they're very accurate with the way they do things, or are they trolling and they're just trying to continue this idea of the Berenstein Bears and create hysteria?
I'm so curious now that I almost want to get Disney Plus just to watch and see.
One of the listeners has Disney Plus.
For sure.
Anyone out there who's got Disney Plus, as we're doing the rest of this podcast, I will try to find the episode. I'll give it to you at the end, and sometime between now and the end of the episode. You guys find it. Let us know what it says. Screenshot it. Send it to us. Tell us whatever. We want to know. We want to know.
When you Google image search Berenstein Bears, you get, this is unrelated but hilarious, you start to get covers from some of the books. And when you start to read what some of the topics of these books are, along with some of the images, it does make me wonder if these are like is this photoshopped? Because this is hilarious. This issue of Berenstein Bears that says new neighbors, and it's a bunch of pandas moving in, and the dad is just like he's all mad, almost like a "there goes the neighborhood" type thing. This is so funny.
So it's funny that you say that about the pictures, because I found another video on YouTube, TikTok, somewhere, where someone, it's obviously edited heavily, but someone's holding a book and they're like, oh yeah, Mandela effect, all right. Look, it clearly says Berenstain Bears. And they bring it up to the camera and it says an A. And then they like turn the book a little bit and then it's an E. And the person's like, whoa, wait, what is this? And obviously it's a troll. It's a joke. It's not real. It's the letters don't change. But again, creating mass hysteria around this idea for those of us who are followers of the Mandela effect. So I think the episode of The Office, or not The Office, I'm sorry, the episode of The Simpsons is titled The Fat and the Furriest. It is season 15, episode 5 is where that is. It was originally aired in November 30th of 2003. So those of you... Now, 2003... Okay, I would venture to guess that the Mandela effect, not widely known in 2003. And I can't remember when we did our teaser episode, we talked about what the date was of when the person coined it, Mandela effect. And I don't believe that it was prior to 2003. I think it was after that.
Yes.
Gosh,
Definitely
that's bad that we don't know that. So The Simpsons either is predicting the Mandela effect by mispronouncing it, or it's real.
Or confirming the whole idea that people just see Berenstain and they say Berenstein.
Yeah, I mean...
But I don't think people do. I don't think people do. That those two sound... Pronouncing those words out, Steen and Stain, when you see that written, it's pretty clearly Stain.
Yeah. Very clearly
I don't
Stain.
think people would just assume it's Berenstein. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see that. And then at least somebody would tell you you're wrong then. At least somebody that you know would say, no, you're saying that wrong, moron. It's Berenstain.
Yeah.
It's clearly the word stain.
Yep, and just never been corrected. And when I've said Berenstein, and I feel like it's one of those books that, like book series, obviously there were a lot, and there was even a show, a cartoon. But it's like a classic dentist office, doctor's office book, You see them everywhere because they're comforting for kids. It's something that, gives you a little bit of like a home. Like, oh, we have this book at home, or we have these types of books at home. I'm excited. Like, kind of ease, So they're everywhere. They were everywhere. And I was never, to my memory, ever corrected as a kid. I remember hearing it from my parents, reading them to me. When I was younger, couldn't read yet, I read a book to my kids. Don't have it anymore, so I can't tell you, but it was newer. Before I knew about the Mandela effect, I guarantee I didn't pronounce it Berenstain. So now it makes me want to be like, I want to go get them and keep pronouncing it Berenstein for my kids so that this is, it perpetuates on to the next generation. But
what's the reason? So let's say this is let's explore another option. And there's no evidence of this. But let's explore the option that this is on purpose. That this is a coordinated effort to make everyone remember this differently. No parallel universe, but a coordinated effort to get you and everyone else to believe that this is Berenstain. What's the benefit? Is it a test? Are they trying something? Like, hey, can we get everybody to remember it this way, and this is how we do it?
Okay, so that's not where my mind went first. My mind went to Jan and Stan being attacked or threatened, and they changed their name slightly to not show up. So, you just type in Berenstein. That was actually what it was. This whole story, this weird story, is Stan as a teacher, has a teacher who tells him it's not pronounced right. So he falls back to that. Something went wrong in their lives, and they're a staple in society at this point. And now they go back and they rewrite it. And they say, oh, we're not related to the Berensteins. You don't want to be associated with that family for whatever reason. So something happened to the Berenstein name where they don't want to be associated with it anymore, so they change it. But to change it, because the books are based off of your last name, you have to then change your books. So, of course, enough money is brought in for these books. They're beloved characters. That was where my mind went. I did not think more about it being a test for the American public.
Sure.
But it very well could be. I believe that.
And along those lines, what do people... I'm sure these books were distributed in other countries. I would imagine that's true. So what do people in other countries remember? Do they remember it as Berenstain? Do they have the same thing? I mean, obviously it's going to look different on the cover. It's different language. But do they have the same situation where decades later they're thinking to themselves, wait a second, it was never that? Why all of a sudden now? Is this just an American phenomenon, or is this a phenomenon that exists in other parts of the world?
All right, so here's what we're going to do. I have a friend who lives in Germany. I communicate with him pretty often. I actually was texting him last week. I'd probably text him once or twice a month. I'm going to text him a picture and just of the bear and say, hey, do you remember these books? And see what he says. If he says yes, then I don't want to lead the witness. So if I send him and say, hey, do you remember these books? I'm trying to remember, their name. If you remember it, let me know. See what he does. He'll probably be like, dude, you have Google. Just look it up, right? But I'll try to get him to type it out and see how he types it. And then we use WhatsApp, so I can do an audio recording and be like, oh, okay, if he types with an A, I'm like, okay, how do you pronounce it? And then see if I can get him to audio clip it back, and then I can play that. So for next episode, we'll do a follow-up. I'm going to try to get this information out of him. Because that'll be he's younger than me by 7 years, so he's a little bit younger. But would have definitely been reading these books if that was something that... He's always lived in Germany, so it's not like he moved there when he was 15 or something. He's always lived there. So I think it'll be a fairly decent test. It'll be one person, but at least it's someone I can get an answer for pretty quickly. So
right, it's something.
So we'll see.
And that's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very curious. I just wonder, and they may say words differently. They do, obviously. But it might not be a thing over there. But that's even more interesting if it's not a thing over there, because this parallel universe theory only affects Americans in the way that we say words and our spellings.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
All right, so that's our takeaway. That is the takeaway.
Yes.
I will get that information. I will try to get that into by the next podcast recording. I'll try to get that all squared away so I can see what he has from his memory. And he might not remember, and it's all for nothing, but I can at least give that update. So, but yeah, so lots of food for thought, people. This is
for sure with this one.
This is we've given some good articles. We've given hopefully sharing the screen on the YouTube channel is helpful, and you can see and kind of find the articles yourself later. But there's a lot out there, and there's a lot of theories. I'm interested to hear other people's theories about what Scott said. What's the reason? If there was an actual change, and why?
Right.
Why change it? What's the reason to change it? And I'll never believe that it's pronounced Berenstain. I won't. I'll never believe that there was an A there. Because I don't want to be one of those who just says, Oh yeah, I guess I just mispronounced it my whole life. No big deal. Like, just a sheep following whatever anyone tells me to do. I'm willing to die on this hill. I feel like there's more to this somewhere that we haven't unpacked yet, and maybe we'll get to it in the CERN episode. But
Yes,
we'll
I
see.
would love for. I don't. I'm surprised no one has come out and said I am from a parallel universe, and I have brought this book with me, and it is the Berenstain Bears. And as you see, this proves that I am from a different universe. Because I'd believe him.
Or maybe that's what the person with the VHS tape did. They're like, "I'll bring this over," and when they brought it over, they're like, "Oh crap, half of it changed." Kind of like a Back to the Future thing, right? It's erasing itself, and so they got to quickly capture it, and that's all we got. We were only able to get the spine, but yeah, would love the input. So if you're watching on YouTube, please in the comments put down what your thoughts are, what your belief is about why this would change if it was changed. What's the reasoning? What you grew up believing? Would love to hear from you all. So I don't know. I mean, we could talk about this for hours, and out of respect for the listeners and for our wives as well, I don't want to belabor it too much. But there's a lot around this. We might come back to some things, as we continue to research for other episodes. There might be more to it that we can say, hey, just a quick circle back to Berenstain Bears. Found this new thing, whatever. We're flexible. We're not going to stick to just one thing if it doesn't make sense. If it makes sense to circle back, we might do a part 2. Who knows?
Right.
So,
I mean, if some news comes out, obviously we would have to react to that.
Oh, Mike is 100% the son. I saw that in one of the articles I was just reading. If Mike comes out and says it was all a ruse, this is why we did it, we'll absolutely cover it. But
oh my gosh, I wish he would.
I wish he would too. I do wish he would. But
that would be so amazing.
Unlikely, but amazing.
Amazing.
For sure. Well, I don't have anything else, Scott. I don't know if you have any final words for those listening.
No, my final words would be to comment in the comment section your experiences with this and what you believe. And I would say, please like, share, and subscribe if you want more of this content, because we're going to be giving it to you. So those are my final words.
I appreciate that, Scott. My final words would be, don't just believe what you're being told. Do some research for yourself. Believe for yourself, based off of what you know to be true from your childhood, that this is not Berenstain Bears, this is Berenstein. That's my final word. And with that, thank you, everybody. Greatly appreciate it. Look forward to future episodes. Hope you enjoyed this one. See you guys later.